Okay, talk on attitude. I'm going to start with two quotes. The first being from my wife, who found this quote in Guidepost, and it was submitted by a Buzz Moxon. And it goes like this: a bad attitude is like a flat tire. You don't go anywhere until you change it. The other quote is by Charles Swindoll. It's a little longer. The longer I live, the more I realize the impact of attitude on life. Attitude to me is more important than facts. It is more important than the past, than education, than money, than circumstances, than failures, than successes, than what other people think or say or do. It is more important than a parent's giftedness or skill. It will make or break a company, a church, a home. The remarkable thing is we have a choice every day regarding the attitude we will embrace for that day. We cannot change the past. We cannot change the fact that people will act in a certain way. We cannot change the inevitable. The only thing we can do is play on the one string we have, and that is our attitude. I am convinced that life is 10% what happens to me and 90% how I relate to it. And so it is with you. We are in charge of our attitudes. Let me read that last sentence again. I am convinced that life is 10% what happens to me and 90% how I react to it. And so it is with you. We are in charge of our attitudes. Attitude to me is the key to life. What separates the get up and go people from the, oh, I can't do that, I'm too tired, I have a boo-boo. They have any excuse they can use to be able to do nothing. Good attitude is like being a salesperson to yourself. Are you going to sell yourself a positive attitude, or are you going to sell yourself a negative klutz? I suggest being positive for two reasons. One, God's not going to give you a new you just because you don't like the way you made up. And two, it's so obvious that most people forget it and don't even see it. You're stuck with yourself all day. You might as well be positive. Just because you're not happy with yourself doesn't mean you can't be positive. Another way of saying it is, would you go visit somebody like you? If you compare yourself to others and think life is not fair, you're right. And when you do comparisons, you always find ones who are better off than you. And I find it amazing that when doing comparisons, how rarely people mention people who have it worse off than you do. They do. And if you live in this country, you have it better than most people in the world. That doesn't mean you can't be positive with life. And and having the right attitude helps. When I was young, whenever I left the house, my mother would say, if you don't think you're any good, why should anyone else? When it comes to thinking positive, you have a choice. So if you have a choice, let me ask the question, why would you choose being negative? I just don't get it. You may have heard of the book Power of Positive Thinking by Reverend Vincent Peale. It sold millions of copies, not because there were lots of Christians who wanted to help the good Reverend out. It sold millions of copies because the idea of positive thinking works. One often hears the statement, attitude is everything. So I looked up in thesaurus underneath attitude, and this is what I found. Approach, outlook, manner, stance, position, feelings, thoughts, mindset, way of thinking, opinion, point of view, standpoint, posture, pose, way of behaving. Perhaps attitude is everything close to it. I'd like to review a couple of these words. I'll start with outlook. How do you look at life? Is the cup half full or half empty? There is no difference in the cup. The amount is the same. It's how you look at it. Is it half full, half empty? If the gas tank in your car is half full, are you nervous about running out of gas? Or are you like me, who calls his friends and say, hey, let's go for a coffee ride. It may be 100 miles. Approach is a word that tells how we deal with change. I was in marketing And every time my manager had a customer with a problem, he'd say he had an opportunity for me. And all joking aside, quite often it was. When I dealt with that customer and solved the problem, we had usually an opportunity to upgrade or make a sale. When management announced a change in operations, did you look for why it wouldn't work, or did you try to make it work? I once hired a fishing guide, and when I boarded the boat, I held onto the console for balance and mentioned I had Parkinson's. He stopped me right there and said, "I don't want to hear what you can't do. Tell me what you can do, and I'll take it from there." We had a great day of fishing at my level of capability, and we had so much fun that 2 days later he called me up and invited me out for free. So, but it was emphasizing what I can do, not what I couldn't do, but what I can do.